Time definitely affected us all in different ways. Some good, some bad, and some people have been more vocal about how it affected them than others have.
My biggest fear, and it made me feel nauseous just thinking about it, was the papers were going to say that I'd put on weight.
You know, I was called Podge Spy. I was the fat, dumpy one, you know, through the media, pointed out, you know, and obviously any imperfection is completely blown out of proportion.
All through the Spice Girls, I was, you know, terribly in control of what I was eating. I wasn't eating properly. And I was exercising, overly exercising, and I was very skinny.
I think there was one time that I think we were in Japan, and we all, you've got to understand, everyone's tired, we're exhausted. You know, we hadn't had a day off. And I think that night I, you know, made myself sick and I felt terrible. And in the morning I said to the girls, you know, I'm bulimic.
I found, you know, having an eating disorder really embarrassing. I was so embarrassed about it.
Even though we were that close, there's certain things, and with every woman, that you just don't talk about unless you feel like there's a window in there.
To talk about it. And, you know, and I found, and I think lots of people in that situation, if somebody does approach you about it, you just, you know, keep them at arm's length.
Too much of something is bad enough, but something's coming over me to make me wonder.
So there was a point, okay, where we didn't have a day off for a year. I can remember thinking, okay, when's the next day off? And it was just like a horrendous amount of, and it was like 70 flights in a month. It was just ridiculous how much we were flying.
We've arrived in Granada.
Reality was hitting home then at how hard it was, how physically and emotionally demanding it all was. So sometimes I think maybe the excitement and the joy of everything, we didn't feel that fully because of the exhaustion.
And I remember my mum at one point phoning Simon Fuller and saying, girls need a break. You know, we hadn't had any days off. We'd be getting up really early in the morning to catch flights. And my mum said, these girls are going to burn out. They really need a day off.
It's a really fine line of trying to manage people personally and then equally manage them professionally. So on one hand, he's saying, yeah, I want to make lots of money for these girls, go for it, because that makes us happy, but equally not to the detriment of their health.
He was our manager, so of course he was like, I think we should do this and I think we should do that, and he, you know, there was that feeling of putting too much on the five of us.
I kind of pretty much kept it to myself, but I wasn't really that happy being with Simon anymore. But of course, you know, the most vocal ladies were the ones that really made it come to fruition.
We were in this house in France, and I was in the laundry room with Victoria, and I looked at her and she looked at me, and we just thought, we've got to get rid of him. There was something, we just felt cross, like he was not allowed in the gang anymore.
I can't remember it being one set thing as to why he got fired. It was a combination of tittle-tattle here, there and everywhere. And I think one of the things for me, like I said before, is he was trying to control too much.
Oh, what a crazy, crazy time. You know, we're on top of the world, you know, biggest bands in the world, got everything going for us. We've got a tour planned, a world tour. And we decide to leave our manager, as you do.
Then we had to start employing people and finding people, and so it's us lot running the show, and it's like 6-year-olds driving a lorry.
It was really, really stressful because what we created, you know, it was us, it was our baby, and we cared so much about it.
As Victoria said, we've had a manic year. We're the first band ever to go to #1 with their first 4 singles. Wannabe also reached #1 in America. We did our first Spice World, the movie, which is out tomorrow. We met Prince Charles, Nelson Mandela, and more recently, the Queen. In Istanbul, we performed our very first and one-off concert, which was an amazing experience. We'll be touring next year, which is a completely new show. And if you weren't in Istanbul, here's your chance to see it for yourself.
We spent that Christmas and New Year in Dublin. And that's where we rehearsed for our tour, our world tour. And we started there at the point in February '98.
Stop right now, thank you very much.
The start of the tour, the five of us were the tightest we've ever been because, again, we didn't have management. We'd actually really connected again, and it felt like we were starting all over again, if that makes any sense. I remember being on a private jet.
We're getting on the mini plane!
Me and Jerry actually were sitting opposite each other. We landed, and Jerry got up and went, "I'm going to say bye, girls. Girls, I'm going to say bye." And I thought, well, that's really weird. We never say goodbye to each other because we're not, you know, we go home for a couple of hours and we're back together.
You know, something you just think, well, that's a bit odd, the way somebody says goodbye to you.
Thanks for coming along. It's really nice to see you all, but are we not missing somebody?
We are. Unfortunately, Jerry's not very well tonight, so get well soon, Jerry.
I think we came up with oh, well, let's just say she's ill and just feel it out for a minute to see if she's going to come back at all. That's what I was hoping for anyway.
It was all kicking off. There's phone calls here. We were ringing her. You know, lawyers were ringing us. And we spoke to her on that day. And we were like, what are you doing, you silly cow? Come on, just come back, you know.
I don't think we actually thought that she'd left.
Jerry Halliwell, otherwise known as Ginger Spice, has announced she's left the Spice Girls, ending days of speculation about her future.
I remember knowing in my heart, days approaching, that I was going to leave, and there was the song Viva Forever, and I was like standing there and I was thinking, oh my God, this is the last time I'm going to sing this with these girls. I can't do it anymore. I just felt empty, and I'd given them everything I could. I just felt like the band had got so big, and you know, and the girls, you know, were almost like they didn't need me anymore, really, and yeah, I definitely felt very redundant, and like the wheels were turning whether I was there or not, it felt.
Everybody in the band's needed. God, it wouldn't be able to function, you know, without us all being there for each other.
The story goes that she always going to do, or she wanted to do something to do with breast cancer, but Mel B wouldn't let her. And I don't know that story. I don't remember any of that.
And I say it was, they said that they didn't want me to do this breast cancer interview alone, and that kind of did it for me. I was like, I can't even do that by myself. But you know, that was kind of like the final straw. But I think it was an amalgamation of like, I just felt I didn't belong anymore.
At first, personally, again, as a friendship thing, I was distraught. I was so upset. But professionally, we had to make it work. We had to move on, move forward.
My number one thing was, right, she's gone for whatever reason. She's got her reasons, which must have been quite serious and heavy in her mind. We have a whole show to do with one person missing. We now have to re-choreograph the dance routines and dish out the lyrics and the lines. That's when my brain automatically went to that.
We're here in Miami.
How long was the flight? 9 hours.
So we feel really good.
I think we had like a couple of weeks, or a week, or however long off, before we went to America.
Jerry leaving the group only 2 weeks ago.
And we just didn't know whether they'd want a full piece. You know, people have bought tickets to see 5 Spice Girls.
80% of the Spice Girls will be performing tonight, and we'll see if they have the staying power to make up for that missing 20%.
Luckily, they were cool. They said, you know, we still want to see the Spice Girls. So we were okay, but she could have really things up for us.